When you lose a child, you don't just grieve for them and the hole that has been left in your heart. You grieve for the life they did not get to have, the experiences that will never be theirs, and the loss to those that they loved as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. On behalf of the Rodriguez family, I'd like to welcome everybody here today. The ceremony is going to start now. Ready? I think. Did I miss something? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem will be sung by Maxwell Kane.
Present. Colors. Colors. Ready, cut. Order. Colors.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing. Our opening prayer will be by Al Geronimo, United States Marine Corps Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the opening prayer. Al Geronimo.
Uncover. As we gather here in the harbor of your safety, we thank you for fellowship and family. We ask that you strengthen us, restore us, and inspire us with your love. Lord, would you fill us with your peace so that as we journey onwards, we would pour our out your love and grace to others. We ask that our souls would catch the wind of your Spirit so that we would take your promises to all the earth. Amen. Cover.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Lisa and Rod Rodriguez and the entire Rodriguez family, I'd like to welcome you today to this very wonderful occasion. It was 10 years ago today, a beautiful December day. I was on the road, I was working, and my phone rang. It was Lisa Rodriguez. In a very soft voice, she simply said, "My Matthew died today." When we lose a service member, a stone is cast into the lake. The ripples go out forever. A few weeks ago, Lisa and Rod heard of the beautiful memorial that was at Gillette Stadium for the Army-Navy game, and they knew it had to come to New Bedford. As I walked through the towers earlier, looking at the name, the pictures, and remembering a comment that General Joseph Dunford had a few years ago when we dedicated the Gold Star Memorial in Fall River. He talked about service above self, and that resonated today. All of our service members here today at this memorial share a common bond. Each took an oath, and they swore to God and country to protect America from all enemies, foreign and domestic. In closing, I would just like to read a very short letter. It was written some time ago to a Mrs. Bixby in Boston. Dear Madam, I have been shown in the files of the War Department a statement of the Adjutant General of Massachusetts that you are the mother of 5 sons who died gloriously on the field of battle. I feel how weak and fruitless must any words of mine which should attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of the republic they died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and leave you only the cherished memory of the loved and lost, and the solemn pride which must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice on the altar of freedom. Yours very sincerely and gratefully, Abraham Lincoln. The solemn pride which must be yours to have laid such a costly sacrifice on the altar of freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Kadabi. Damn. Thank you for being here. We have a few guest speakers today. Our first speaker is the Mayor of New Bedford, John Mitchell. John Mitchell has been a wonderful advocate for everything that I've been involved with, whether it was at the airport or with the Matthews Foundation. So I have had the honor of introducing the mayor and mayors many times, and I always say the exact same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce the mayor of the greatest city in the state of Massachusetts, John Mitchell.
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me begin fixing this. Let me begin with a word of thanks to you, Mike, for once again supporting the Rodriguez family as you have for so many years, through thick and thin, and including today, which I think Lisa and the rest of the family, Julia, everybody would agree is particularly a day of celebration, a day of reflection first, but also a day of celebrating a really important, exemplary life. I wish to take a moment to acknowledge the public officials who are here as well, City Council President Linda Morad and all the members of the City Council who are here today. We want to thank state representatives who are here today, Chris Hendricks, Chris Markey, former Mayor Scott Lang is here, as well as Selectman Bob Espandola from Fairhaven. And I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Police Chief Paul Oliveira, of course. I want to thank the fire and police departments for their support of this event today, along with Scott Service and the airport, as well as the airport commission. I just wanted to really offer up two things, and it is hard to follow a reciting of Lincoln's letter to Mrs. Bixby of Boston, but I wanted to really just thank everyone, but particularly Lisa and the Rodriguez family. And Rod couldn't be here today, but I know he's certainly with us in spirit, for taking the initiative to bring us this loving tribute to fallen members of the military, or those who have fallen in the global conflict on terror that began in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. We pride ourselves in New Bedford of being an especially patriotic city. There are countless residents of our city who fought in every American war, including right up through the withdrawal in Afghanistan some 2 years ago now. And so in that way, this tribute here is altogether appropriate, fitting, and proper to be here in the city. And my wish, frankly, is that everyone get a chance to see it in our region, all throughout Greater New Bedford, but especially the region's school children. George Washington once said that a nation's ability, its capacity to fight future wars is directly proportionate to the way that it treats veterans of previous wars. The reverence that we show for veterans, the reverence we especially show for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, is altogether important to the work of preserving our republic. And so this gift that those organizers of this display who've been traveling around the country have given to the country, and for the Rodriguez family, and Mike for bringing it here to our great city, is doing an enormous service to all of us, to all Americans, to all residents of the New Bedford area. And I thank you on behalf of the city for that. Today is a celebration of Matthew Rodriguez's life. And I showed Lisa the pin that I have displayed in my office, and it's been sitting there in my office since the memorial service when you distributed the pins, and it's been there since General Dunford, the then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, went to the playground to visit on behalf of the United States. And I can't believe, Lisa, it's been 10 years. I really can't. And Julia, Adam, I'm a little stunned by it all. But I will say this, as I said before, and it bears reemphasizing, that Matthew Rodriguez, and I can say it now, having 10 years with 10 more years under my belt as a father, Matthew Rodriguez is the kind of kid any parent would want. Someone who had values and someone who was committed to them. And by enlisting in the Marine Corps, right out of high school, right out of Voc, he lived those values. He lived those values to his dying day. He lived those values when he was in the sandy hills of Afghanistan, knowing that nobody required him to be there. We have an all-volunteer force in the United States. Have had that, it's been that way for the last half century. He knew that not having to be there, he could have been back with his friends back home. He could have been sleeping late. He could have been doing something far more ordinary than doing the extraordinary. But he knew that for himself, he had to be there. He enlisted. He went off to Parris Island. He was deployed into the theater of operations, all by his choice. Matthew Rodriguez is the kind of person that our country has needed since the founding of the Republic, and it will continue to need for as long as that Republic endures. What makes America different is that it's not founded on tribe or clan or a set of families or bloodlust. It is founded on principle. That's what makes America exceptional. But it only is possible, it continues to be possible, if those of us who are called upon to preserve that republic step up when called. And that doesn't necessarily mean serving in the military. There's always some way to serve. And I think if today, what I hope we can all do, Lisa, is to be inspired by Matthew's example of service. That living your values is a fulfilling way to live your life, but it's also the most meaningful way to do it. And we here today can express our collective gratitude that he did that for us. And what we owe him is that we do as much and teach our children to do as much as time goes on. Thank you, Lisa, so much for pulling us together today. This is a really uplifting experience for us all. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Espindola. Bob is the selectman on the Board of Selectmen for the town of Fairhaven. Bob.
Thank you. My sister just told me she was having a difficult time, so I need to step up to the mic. Thank you, Di. So good afternoon, everyone, and on behalf of my fellow select board members in the town of Fairhaven and town administration, I want to thank you for the honor to speak to you today. We're proud of the support that's been provided by the town of Fairhaven Police and Fire, and our veterans agent, Michael Jenny, is here today. Prior to him, our several veterans agents, Brad Fish, they've all been very supportive, not just in today's efforts, but over the years. On the Patriotic Productions website, which is the group that organizes this traveling memorial, there's a quote that reads, "A Gold Star family's greatest fear is that their fallen will be forgotten. Let's not forget." I was fortunate enough to have a personal connection to Matthew when I coached him in Little League Baseball, and he played with my two boys. It was evident, as Mayor Mitchell mentioned back then, his values, even at 12-year-old boy on the baseball field, they showed through. It was then I first met his dedicated parents, Lisa and Rod, always at the games. Matthew and my niece Julia were engaged to be married at the time he was killed in action. The news was devastating, of course, to the Rodriguez family and to my family as well, especially Julia, my sister Diane, her husband Cricky, and Julia's sisters Jennifer and Kimberly. The entire town mourned his loss. It's one thing to have an appreciation for those who serve and those who pay the ultimate sacrifice. But as we all found out, when it turns out to be someone close to you, it takes on a whole new dimension. I vowed back in 2013 to never forget Matthew's sacrifice. And one way that I do that is every single time that I stand for the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance, I think of Matt, and I say a little prayer for him. Over the years, there's been a very close connection between the Rodriguez family and the Espindola family. From organizing yard sales as fundraisers to road races to traveling to haul ice from local ice rinks to hold a winter fest in the middle of the summer in Cushman Park. It's been inspiring to see how these families have grouped together and responded, and how the whole community has responded to losing Matthew by doing something so positive in his remembrance. Lastly, I'd just like to say that, this tribute outside the playground is so fitting and really is special. When I was young, my parents used to take us to this airport just to watch the planes take off and land. And it's a very simple thing, but we all remember that. And, so when this playground was built and dedicated in Matt's honor, it was a very special meaning to my family. And as grandparents, my wife Ann and my grandson Leo over there, we come here, and he now stops and takes notice every time he sees a plane in the sky. If you haven't done so, I would encourage you to take a young child to the playground, and if you don't have a young child in your life, encourage someone else to do that. And one day, when they're old enough to understand, explain to them that when you walk underneath that arch, it says Lance Corporal Matthew R. Rodriguez. You can explain to them about what a special person he was and how he sacrificed his life for the freedom that we are all so fortunate to have in our daily lives. I again want to reiterate the special thanks to Lisa Rodriguez for bringing this for all of us here. And I'd like to mention that the Board of Directors for the Lance Corporal Matthew R. Rodriguez Memorial Foundation include Lauren Weber, Lisa Doherty, Lisa Rodriguez, Laurie Andrews, Scott Weber, Michael Knabe, and Michael Bouvier. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Our next guest speaker is State Rep Chris Markey, 9th Bristol.
To the Rodriguez family and the Tapper family, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this is where you are on December 11th, 2023. I'm sorry that you have given up something that and I'm sure John has mentioned, we take for granted every day. Our children. And I think of going through here, and you see pictures of soldiers, and they're the big picture, and then when you look at them being kids, being dads, driving around in their car that they're so proud of, in those little pictures, it makes you reflect a lot more on the value of a life, the value of virtue, the value of goodness, the value of trustworthiness, the value of courage, and the need for all of that every day in our lives. And I keep thinking that I hope my children can do that. I hope my children understand that sacrifice is how everybody succeeds. And when one person makes a sacrifice, everyone can succeed. So I hope one of the things that people can take away from this is an opportunity to take stock of where they are. Take an opportunity to take stock of where their family is. Take an opportunity to take stock of where our country is. And try to figure out how we can bring back virtue, goodness, trustworthiness. All the things that Matthew just did. But that didn't just come about because of him. It came about because of a family. It came about because of a girlfriend, a fiancé. It came about because of a town. It came about because people promoted him, gave him a chance, saw the opportunities he had, saw the potential he had. And he did this to thank them for that. That's what I hope at the end of the day today is that everyone walks through, sees that these men and women were heroes, they're soldiers, they're courageous, but they're also just kids. Thank you.
That's a little better. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor once again to introduce Lisa Rodriguez, Matthew's mom, probably one of the most wonderful people you'd ever want to meet in your life. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Rodriguez.
Thank you, everyone. Need the glasses. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming today. As you can see right behind me, the Remembering Our Fallen Memorial is a beautiful and moving exhibit. It travels the country, honoring our fallen from the global war on terror. It includes over 5,300 names and pictures of our nation's heroes, many killed in action or from injuries sustained in action. But it also includes those killed in training accidents here at home or on other bases abroad, as well as servicemen and women who have succumbed to PTS. We are honored to host this here in New Bedford today. I cannot thank the folks at Patriotic Productions enough for their efforts and generosity in making this happen. You see, it was only a few weeks ago that I saw an email from them that was blasting out where they were going to be over the next month. And when I saw that it was going to be at Gillette Stadium for the Army-Navy game on December 9th, my first thought was, how am I going to get in there to see it? It's going to be way too busy for me. And then I thought, they're going to be that close. I wonder if they'd bring it down to us. So I shot off an email. And within hours, I was on the phone with Bill Williams in Nebraska. He had already talked to Dave Lawton, who's here with us today. He had been in Florida that day, bringing the memorial around, and they had figured out that they wanted to do it and what they would need to make it happen. They told me what that would be, and I said, we can do that. Then I called the people I know that will call anyone and ask for anything. That would be Michael Kanabe and Hank Turgeon. The rest is pretty much history. Next, our foundation team of family, Matt's friends, and friends to her family helped get the word out and all showed up here in force yesterday to set up this amazing display. I cannot thank you all enough. It all came together fast. I had been wondering what I could do to commemorate Matt's 10-year, over the last several months at least. Nothing I thought of seemed adequate or appropriate. I'm pretty sure it was Matt that made sure I saw that email and gave me the courage to ask for something so amazing. You see, Matt had pretty high standards. One of his favorite sayings was, "Only the best." I think we're all here delivering that for him today. So, I now get to tell you a little about Matt. My Matthew is beautiful. He had big, sparkly blue eyes and an infectious smile that would not stop even when it should. He had a big heart and a sensitive soul, which he tried to hide, but he couldn't. Matt was reserved when he first met people, but watch out once he got comfortable with you. He loved good times, gathering with family and friends. He loved baseball, hockey, history, and camping. And he loved being an uncle, a very goofy uncle. Matt was energetic, wise beyond his years, and was always trying to make someone laugh. He was observant, a mechanical wizard, and sometimes the laziest guy you could imagine. Yes, he was full of contradictions, and as I've said, he could be reserved, but boy, did he love to argue. He would even argue a point he didn't necessarily believe just because it was the opposite of the majority, or simply because it pissed off his father or brother. He was insightful, sometimes profound, and often infuriating. But that's when he knew he got you, and then that damn smile would make you laugh. Matt wanted nothing more than to be a Marine. And yes, he wanted to be deployed, and forward deployed at that. He had to be the tip of the spear, as those combat engineers like to say. I do take comfort knowing that Matthew gave his life doing exactly what he wanted to be doing. I also know he was well aware of the price his service could extract. He was proud of his dad, also a Marine and a combat veteran from Vietnam with a Purple Heart of his own. Although young, Matt did not choose to serve by happenstance, but with deep thought and understanding, a love of country, and a profound pride and purpose. When you lose a child, you don't just grieve for them and the hole that has been left in your heart. You grieve for the life they did not get to have, the experiences that will never be theirs, and the loss to those that they loved as well. Our daughters, Lisa and Lauren, lost their oldest little brother in the family comic relief. Adam, our son Adam, lost his best friend and advisor, and also his chief tormentor. Eric, Matt's best friend and fellow Marine, lost his partner in crime. There's stuff I do know. And our hearts will always break for Matt's fiancée, Julia, who had every plan for her future ripped from her at far too young an age. They are all strong, and they are building and will continue to build wonderful lives, with Matt being a personal and amazing memory, just as he would want for them. But we ache for what they have lost and have had to endure. But the best way to honor Matthew is for all of us to live our lives well. Anything less would be an insult to his love for us and his sacrifice. A fellow Gold Star mother and friend, Beth Samus, mother of Marine Captain Benjamin Samus, who was killed in action on April 5th, 2003 in Iraq, Tower 30, told me a long time ago that it doesn't get better, it just gets different. She was right. And just different is okay, because to grieve means you loved and you remember. Matthew is so very loved by so many. He will forever be missed, and he will always be remembered. He is our hero.
Thank you, Lisa. Beautiful. Our closing prayer today will be once again by Al Geronimo, United States Marine Corps chaplain. Al?
Uncover. May the Lord our God bless all present here to memorialize those who lived and died to preserve liberty and freedom in our nation and in the world. And may the Lord our God remember all those whose sacrifice gave this nation its greatness, progress, and riches. May our memory and all of those who served in the armed forces be an honorable one, full of thanksgiving to the Lord, and remember with much love and mercy those who died in service of our country, whether on the air or on the land or in the sea. Be with us all and provide us with traveling mercy as we return to our homes. Amen.
Color guard, L10, look. Carry.
Color.
Ready. All right.
Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to take a moment to recognize several people and several organizations who made this day possible and made it the spectacular day that it was. I'd like to recognize Mayor Mitchell for his participation here today. Thank you, John. Selectman Bob Espindola. Thank you, Bob. And Representative Chris Markey. Thank you. I want to recognize all of the elected officials here today, city councilors, the former Mayor Scott Lang, and several others. We have several sponsors that I want to recognize. But on a personal note, I really want to take a minute to first start with New Bedford PD. I want to recognize Hank Turgeon for all of his efforts on helping us get this thing really moving fast. I want to recognize New Bedford Fire, New Bedford Fairhaven Police, Fairhaven Fire, Teamsters Local 159, Straw Dog Studios, MV Concrete Pumping. I want to recognize the Claremont Company for all of their efforts in helping us make this day a reality. Wonderful, wonderful people there. Parallel Products, South Coast Towing, Playfetch, Image Signs, Big Wheels Towing. And I know that there are many people who participated that I probably missed, but I want to send a shout out to the Rodriguez family, the Lance Corporal Matthew R. Rodriguez family, and I want to particularly mention Adam, Julia, Lisa, and Lauren. They are all go, no quit. They just keep going. I want to recognize all the friends of Matthew Rodriguez who came and did whatever we needed to do. They got the job done, and I can't thank everybody enough. So at this point, I just would ask everybody to take some time, walk through the towers, take a look at the names and the faces. Thank you very much for being here. God bless you all. God bless America.